Hi everyone, I'm Shishir. I'm here to talk about my leader, that is Jahangir Ratanji Dadabhai Tata. I know most of you all can't pronounce his name, so I'm going to shorten his name by saying J.R.D.Tata, and also is known as J, that is J-E-H. Okay, before I start talking about my leader, I'm going to give you a brief introduction or a background about Tatas, so that you know what I'm talking about. So Tata Group, basically the the Zoroastrians who have been immigrated to India in 1868, and from that time they're into business. The main business is steel, and right now the business is very diversified. They're into steel, beverages, constructions, pharma. Basically they own a large part of the Indian market. Presently their revenue is around 80 billion, and then they have around 300,000 plus employees working for them. So this was about Tata, and getting back to my leader, J.R.D. Tata. He was born in Paris, July 29th, 1904. Basically his childhood, he was in Paris, and from there he moved to Japan and then England. So because of his childhood, he had a very French background, where his mother tongue, actually his mother, Suzanne, she is from France. So his mother tongue was French, and then the way he dressed up and the way you speak, basically you can know that he's a Frenchman. He's not an Indian or someone of neutral nationality. So he's from that childhood, and then after that he moved to England, and that's when he learned English. Basically this moving to England was so that he can join Cambridge and have a college education. And also in between he was in the French army for 1 year, and then he really liked the French army and he wanted to serve more, but then he knew that the time has come to go back to India and look after his family business. So in 1925 he came back to India, even though he had many dreams of becoming a pilot, driving fast cars. I mean, who doesn't want to drive? And then bikes and many other things like any other human being. He went back to India, and then that's when he joined Tata and Sons. I'm sure most of you all must be thinking that okay, he joined Tata and Sons, he's the boss's son, he can do whatever he wants, he just needs to go take a paycheck and come back. But that's not how things work in Tata. Even though after all this he had to be trained before he could be given the company. He was put at a table beside one of the managers, Peterson, and he was made to learn each and every point. Even though he had the traits of a businessman, he had to learn how to run the business. Apart from making profit, he had to learn what exactly the business is. That is one good thing about Tatas. You have to learn even though you know that. And when I talk about this, I want to talk about the trait theory. Trait is something trait is something you can distinguish one person to another person. So the same comes to a leader. The traits what you find in a leader, you might not find, or you might find in another person, but his traits are different from others. So most of his traits have been inherited, but few of them have been developed by him. The word why I use develop over here is, he didn't have a college education. I mean, he wanted to go to college, he wanted to study and also have little fun, but then that was he couldn't do it because he had to come back and work for his family. So that's because of that he started having inferiority complex, and then he started developing more traits. I mean, till the last breath he used to still learn how to satisfy people, how to run business and many other things. So he developed his traits, and also he inherited many of his traits. He inherited traits from J.R.D. Tata, who started the Tata Group, and from his father, from his uncle. Basically he had the Tata blood in him, so he had the traits. And apart from this, even physical appearance matters. He was tall, he was lean, he was handsome, but more importantly he was witty, he was humorous. People liked him, they wanted to know more about him, they wanted to converse with him. That is who Tata was. In 1938 he became the chairman at the age of 34. He was the youngest chairman among the Tatas, and till date, he was still the youngest Tata to become a chairman, 1938. So as soon as he became the chairman, his first goal was to start something of his own, and that came true in 1958 when he, being a pilot, I'm sorry I missed out on that, but he was the first pilot from India, so he started his own airlines. That's when his dream came true of starting airlines. So that was Tata Airlines, which became Air India. You can see some of the photographs over here his license, then plane and the Tata Airlines. So that was his first achievement when he made an airlines that became Air India later on, an international airlines which is there till date, and it connects India to most of the world. Even though he was born with a silver spoon, he had no need to work. I mean, who would work? I mean, if you had 1 million or 20 million or 50 billion, why would you work? I mean, there's no need. But then there was something called as drive to succeed. He had that drive, which which pushed him to succeed, to make Tata's more than what it is that day. So that is what it is. And the most important among all this is the policy which in 1979 he came up with this policy for his employees, that when an employee leaves home for work and he comes back home, that means he's worked. If he takes 1 hour to travel from home to work, that means 1 hour plus another 1 hour to get back. He's going to get paid for that. So that actually helped him to get more close to the employees. It helped his employees more, and he became very popular. He was more like a god to them, like who would do that to an employee. And moreover, at that time, businessmen actually they used to look only for money. They never actually cared about employees or anything. But Tata, on the other hand, was different. In 1940s or 1950s, he was talking about team management. He was talking about encouraging his employees. He was talking about giving companies to people he just knows or people who works for him. And he actually believes in them, encourages them, and let them take decisions. This is part of the new paradigm he follows. And Tata also had a one-to-one relation to all the company heads. When he joined Tata Group, there were only 14 enterprises. But when he left Tata Group, there were 95 enterprises, and the company was worth $5 billion. So basically, he couldn't handle all the enterprises. I mean, who could? So then he had heads for each and every enterprise, and then he had a one-to-one relationship with everyone, so that he knows what's going on, but he doesn't control anything as such. And coming to the MBIT, J.R.D.Tata is ENTJ. He's an extrovert. He likes to go out. I mean, there's nothing wrong with introvert, but that is who he is. He goes out, he meets people, he's got a lot of contacts. He likes to be outside, and moreover, he likes to discuss his problems, not only with his employees but also with his friends. Intuition. I would give a best example of intuition by saying that he started Tata Airlines. When he started Tata Airlines, people said that it will not run. In fact, it didn't run properly. It didn't run in profit for a few years. But then after that, he started making loads of profit. So it is all based on his pattern. He knew that the pattern that you're going to make money in the future. It also is going to help the people and the country. And then Tata is a very practical guy. He always used to think about what is there, what is not there. He always used to keep the facts in mind and then make a decision. And also Tata, he's a person who always has his priorities right. He knows what is of high priority, what is of low priority, what is personal, what is professional. Basically, he drew a line for everything. Tata put a mark of India worldwide. I mean, who would know that there's something called India, a small continent compared to the whole world? It was Tata who had his relations with many other countries, made business. He made progress in some, he didn't make in some, but at least India got its name. And talking about all this, I would want to talk about the weakness of Tata. His main weakness was perfection. He wanted everything to be perfected, but it doesn't matter that that he's going to scold any employee or he's going to go angry or something, but then he wants everything to be perfect. That is who Tata was. That's why during his time, Air India was supposed to be the best airlines. In fact, you can see over here, compared to all other airlines, the Air India Airlines air hostess used to wear saris because that is different from others, and he wanted to promote Indian culture through it. So he was a perfectionist. And when I talk about his strength, I would say communication. When I say communication, it's not just about he speaks, someone listens and it goes off from the other end. But communication is actually when you speak to someone and they don't literally reply, but then they actually listen to you, that. So even though he had a French background, even though he didn't know English, and moreover, even though he didn't know how India is, still he could communicate with India or any other country in fact. So this is who Tata is. He pulled up the Indian economy. He gave a lot of jobs to Indians, and most of the Indians still remember him. He's an idol for everyone, and I'm sure no one's going to forget about him. Even though today I speak about him, I'm sure tomorrow or maybe after a few years someone else is going to talk about him, because that is his personality, that charismatic personality. No one can forget what he is or what he's done. Finally, I would like to conclude my speech saying that the word impossible was never in Tata's dictionary. Thank you. Any questions about J.R.D. Tata or anything related to that? Yeah?
Say there was a major problem with his airlines or whatever, how would he handle a problem like that if there was a major...
Yeah. Firstly, Tata is a very patient guy. He's a very practical person. If there was any problem, he would sit, he would call all his employees, basically the team worker. If it's a major problem and it has to be fixed in a week, then maybe he would do it on his own by putting all his resources, his heart into that particular problem. But then if it is something which can take time and which he can improve and not repeat it in the future, then he would actually call for a meeting, get everyone together and fix the problem.